Well, welcome back, everybody, to this special edition, which is all about the upcoming full moon lunar eclipse that happens on September 17th of 2024. So we are less than a week away, and we are already in the energy of the full moon eclipse. And if you are feeling a little extra emotional, if you're starting to see things be taken away from you, that's eclipse work. And so we're going to break it down and we're going to talk about it. If you're new to my channel, thank you and welcome. Please remember to like and comment, and most importantly, click on that subscribe button below. That way you get notified each time I record and post new content like I am today. Now, if you follow me normally, I do a weekly astro lesson where I break down the astrology day by day and a weekly tarot card pull. I've already done the tarot cards for next week and posted those to give you an idea of what to work on. And I am posting this separately from the weekly breakdown because we still have a lot of stuff going on next week, but there's no way I can cram it all into one video. So I decided to pull this content out for Tuesday, and then I'll post later the normal astro lessons so that you can continue to navigate day by day. Also remember to go out to my website, marileeburnett.com, and join on that website. I send out the written content like the monthly horoscope and like the full moon article, which is already posted out there for you to review. But if you join my website, then those get mailed to you. And no, I do not spam you, and I don't send you a ton of content every day. I'm just a small, mighty little channel, and I will not annoy you, I promise. But thank you for joining me and participating and sharing this content with somebody that you think could benefit from it. And last but not least, I do have a special offer out there that will give you a little bit of an extended reading with me, where we'll just focus on this full moon lunar eclipse as well as the upcoming new moon solar eclipse. So the new beginnings that can come into your life at the time of the solar eclipse will involve our relationships, but there's some closure. So let's get into it. Let's break it all down. I will also give you a high level breakdown of what to expect. So let's talk about eclipses. In order for there to be an eclipse, the nodes, which are a mathematical point that surround the moon and are fated events, need to be engaged. And so you'll notice that we are going to have a full moon in Pisces at 25 degrees, and the north node is in Aries, which is a different sign. So that makes this a partial full moon solar eclipse, which in some ways can be a little less dramatic, but it's still intense. It's an eclipse. However, when it is farther away, it does have a little less intensity to it. So that's one point to notice. Now, the North Node, this is what we came here to learn in this lifetime. It's in the sign of Aries. It spends about 18 months in each sign, and it moves backwards from 29 to 0. So you're noticing here that we're at 6 of Aries. So we are almost done with the work here, which started a year ago, last July, around the 19th. And now we're getting ready for the work to wrap up. And here's a moment where some of that work can be intensified. As we pursue our North Node and Aries goals, it's about finding our strength. It's about finding our independence. It's fighting for ourself. This is first house work, which is who am I, right? And how do other people see me? And Mars, the champion, right, of the sign of Aries, wants us to fight, right? Be passionate about it and pursue what it is that we want. So this is a North Node eclipse where we're focused on where we're supposed to be heading. Then we have the opposite of that, which is the South Node in Libra. And you will have noticed over the last year and a half, there have been a lot of relationships that have ended, business partnerships, because where the South Node is what we need to let go of, what we may have already learned, karma that we come into this lifetime with. And now in Libra, it's about needing to restore that balance in relationships, for those relationships to be fair, lawful even. So we are seeing at the time of this eclipse, what do we need to let go of in order to pursue what is meant for us and our individual journey. Now, the other thing that's important to think about is the nodes travel around the zodiac 18 and a half to 19 months, give or take, depending on the sign that they're going through. And so sometimes it's helpful to look back 19 years or 2005 to this around September timeframe, because that is when we last had this type of an eclipse. And that is a 19-year cycle that's coming to a close. So a new 19-year one can begin. So what changed for you in 2005? And it doesn't have to be exactly, right? Eclipses could be a year ahead. It could be 6 months. It starts the work at some point that's significant based on your chart and what your lessons are. But if you have planets that sit around the 25-degree point, you're going to notice the work more specifically because it's hitting a personal planet or a personal point in your chart. So you will notice it more than maybe somebody who has nothing in the sign of Pisces or nothing at 25 degrees. There'll be some impact, but it won't be as noticeable potentially. So again, go back, give some thought, because again, this is very cyclical. It's fate. Fate isn't giving up on you. And so if you missed the opportunity 19 years ago, you want to make sure you don't make the same choice again, for instance. And if you're done with what's been happening the last 19 years, then this chapter is about to close, and that's good news as well. So, full moon, lunar eclipse, all the eclipses, as we set intentions, I always recommend that you have to be willing to eclipse something out. And with a moon, it's an emotional eclipse, right? There can be emotional blocks that you can eclipse out. There can be emotions that you spend too much time with, for instance, right? Depends on what your certain issue is. And again, what house that sits in for you, where you want to set intentions to join with this eclipse energy, eclipse whatever this is out that is blocking you from what you're meant to be experiencing. So show up and join it. It's always better to work with the energy than against it. And you can't fight fate. Yes, we have free will, but there are certain things that are planned and destined that we agreed to when we came here. And this is one of those times where you have to let things go. So this is an emotional letting go of some kind based on the house that this happens in for you. And when you do the work, then you're on your path. You're headed north, and you are leaving behind relationships, friendships, working relationships, legal issues that don't serve you anymore. So that's just some of the foundational work of an eclipse. Then we look at all the energy that's going on at this same time. So, of course, for there to be an eclipse, we need the moon and the sun opposing one another. And then the Earth's shadow, right, is going to move between the two. Since it's partial, we're not going to see the moon fully covered. But we will see part of it, right? And in that darkness is where secrets and things that are hidden can be, exposed and brought into the light. So in the sign of Virgo, this could be things to do with illness, health topics, control, details, facts, natural healing, right? All that work goes into the sign of Virgo, and the Virgo sun is shining a light on the moon, right? This is the area that is helping you accomplish your lunar eclipse goals, because anytime the moon becomes full, right, we're done with something. We've completed something in some way. And from the sign of Virgo, we're seeing what that is. Now, Virgo is very much about control, and Pisces is lacking control, lacking boundaries. And so the sun can shine a light and show you where you have unhealthy boundaries and how you need to adjust those. And because there's tension, right? This is opposition. It's not necessarily easy work, but your job is to bring these two areas into balance so that whatever this is for you can be concluded. So we have that initial tension. Then add to that whatever's going on with the ruling planet of the eclipse or a full moon is important to note. Well, Neptune is a ruling planet of Pisces, and it's sitting there in its home sign. It is retrograde. It's speaking in harmony with Pluto. It's speaking in harmony with Uranus. These are all outer planets that work together very subtly in the background. But there's something about the work that these planets have been doing on society as a whole, as well as in your own personal life, that is going to be highlighted. So we may not even realize what work has been going on, but something about this full moon is going to expose that work. And granted, they're working together harmoniously. They're creating transformation and change, innovation, bringing things to the surface that we need to see and become aware of. And so again, there's this feeling at this lunar eclipse that something is about to be exposed in a very big way that we all need to pay more attention to and be far more aware of. And once we become aware of it, we can't ignore it. And it's going to help us end something or let go of something that's unhealthy, not serving us, right? Pisces is about healing. It's the last sign. It's very spiritual healing work that can be done as well. Also rules over the subconscious mind, the spiritual realm, the other side. So it is very psychic energy. And when not used carefully, it's very delusional, right? This is a lot of times where we can see people who have mental health issues. They can have drug addictions, right? So if somebody were struggling with something like that, this would be a time where that could be exposed and others could come in to help you end an addiction, for instance. Just one of the many, many ways that this could show up for you. But Neptune's also good at dissolving things. So again, if Neptune is helping you dissolve feelings and emotions that no longer serve you, because they could be making you unhealthy. And so this is a time where you would finally realize what you're doing to yourself that's unhealthy so you can heal. And the way the eclipse works, right, is not necessarily directly on you either. I was talking about this when I did the tarot card reading too, and I had mentioned, a lot of times I see somebody gets an opportunity because somebody else's opportunity was eclipsed out, right? So this is, again, it's fate, and fate works in mysterious ways, but ultimately it provides you with what is meant for you, even if it's not directly happening that way. Now, the other thing that you'll see here, this is a kite formation. And so the kite has this really strong backbone, right? And it is creating tension. And that tension is what allows your kite to be lifted up into the air. So you have this frame of your kite, which has, again, this moon joining in with Neptune. It has Uranus and it has Pluto, right? So it's this energy of change and innovation that is a part of this kite and this need to lift something up in your life. And the frame also is supported, of course, by the sun, both in a positive way and providing some tension. So the sun at the time of this eclipse is speaking in harmony with Pluto and Uranus. The sun is our success. The sun is our ego, right? So it's suggesting that if you want to succeed right now, that you're going to have to be more unique and innovative, maybe especially when it comes to money, right? Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. Of course, it depends on what house is being activated. And then this Pluto work, right? We are in the last of the Pluto work in our lifetimes. And so again, there's something about this work that started in 2008 that's getting ready to be fully completed. Now it's October 11th when Pluto will station and start to go direct again. And then it stays going forward in Pluto. So it's time for us to finish up between October 11th and November 19th, I think. So we still have time to learn the lessons and then do the work that is necessary. And again, there is something shown to us about that work right now. You may have already seen it even. So don't ignore the work. Try not to become overwhelmed by it, but trust when you show up and do the work, what is meant for you will show up for you. So that's a big effort. And whenever I see a kite, when I'm working with people, whether it's in their chart, in a transit, I'm always reminding them that the kite can't get up off the ground unless you grab the string and pull it, right? So there's that need for you to do the work to get your kite to lift up off the ground. And then there's some kind of a big reward waiting for you as a result of that. So that's pretty amazing that this formation is a part of this eclipse. So again, it tells me when you let go of whatever's dragging your kite down, it can lift up. And that's what you're meant to do and be. You are meant to be lifted up at this time because you're supposed to be celebrating yourself and your strength and your independence because of the North Node work here. All right. So what else do we have going on at this time? Plenty. So let's break it down a little bit more. I have also in the sign of Pisces, Saturn. Now, Saturn is 10 degrees away. But remember, Saturn has rings, so it still has some influence over this event as well. And of course, Saturn has been in Pisces for some time now. It spends about 2.5 years, and it's in its retrograde for a little longer now as well. And as it's sitting here helping you try to figure out, how do I have good, healthy boundaries? How do I stick to my commitments, right? How do I work on my health, my mental health, right? How do I follow a plan and execute against it? All important things that we're trying to figure out how to do, and Saturn's trying to guide us. Well, at the time of this event, it is in opposition with Mercury, also down in Virgo, and it's one of its home signs, right? So Mercury has all the details and all the facts, right? And then Saturn is ruling over all the feelings that have to go with those facts, right? You can't ignore the feelings and focus only on the facts, and you can't only focus on feelings and ignore the facts. I said that right. So that is creating tension, and your goal, as always, in opposition energy is to balance both. So you can't get through this situation without empathy, whether it's to yourself or for others. But there's something about the events around this eclipse that are going to require empathy from you. But you can't get over emotional about the situation because Saturn is not an emotional energy. Saturn is restrictive because it is an authoritarian type of energy, and it wants you to follow the rules and execute on the plan. So Mercury has the plan, and it's not quite up to Saturn standards, right? But there's some tweaks that need to be made. And so you will feel this tension in these houses. And for some of you, that could be like this chart, right? Where all of this is happening. If you're a late Aries rising, this is in your 12th house. This is some heavy, heavy work because it's all in the subconscious mind. And that can be a weight on you that you don't quite know how to navigate. So I strongly encourage you, if you feel overwhelmed, that this is the time to reach out to somebody that can help you do the work. But the work, right? If you figure 6th house is work, but it's also your physical body's health. And then the 12th house is your, mental health. So there's something important about the day-to-day routines for this person that you need to review. And you may need to make some changes. And the changes that you make, the healthy changes that you make, will end up helping you mentally as well. Okay. Last piece that I'm going to cover about fated events is we have Mars in the sign of Cancer. Now, Mars energy doesn't love being in the sign of Cancer because Cancer is very emotional. And Mars doesn't have time for emotions. So I always say Mars in Cancer is kind of like a spoiled little brat. And they will pout and they will explode and they just make it known when they're not happy. So wherever this house is for you, you may have a spoiled little child within you that needs a little bit of a timeout. So something about the way the Mars energy is behaving, even for the collective, and of course for us individually, needs to change. And that's because at this time, Mars is squaring with the North Node, and it's also squaring with the South Node, so that creates a T-square. Mars is where the exit point of that energy is. It's I always call it like the top of a volcano. So there's some kind of an emotional release that needs to happen. You can't keep holding it in anymore. You can't hide your feelings. That doesn't mean you need to act like, a spoiled little brat, but it does mean that you need to release your feelings in a healthy way. So there's something about that, some kind of an event that may happen where we have to look at our response and choose a path, right? And some will choose a healthier path and some won't. Don't let that won't person be you. So there's something fated. There could be a fated event that gets us upset emotionally. But as a result, big changes are going to happen because the eclipse is going to help do the work to make it happen. So this is a volatile time. We need to be aware and not overreact. Okay, so some other tense energy, which tells me again that there's some pain and there's some healing that needs to happen, is because Chiron in Aries, also retrograde, the wounded healer, is in opposition with Venus in Libra. So they're Aries and Libra, right? This is where the North Node and the South Node are. You can look at the conflict between a male figure who is maybe a teacher and a coach. It could be somebody who is in charge of an army, right? Some kind of a military leader. And that person is in some kind of a legal battle. A woman, for instance, who is a lawyer, right? This could be a male figure that is ill and unhealthy, and something to do with this woman, this lawyer, this legal issue, or this is two people in a relationship with one another where there's conflict, and that is creating more tension. And of course, it's happening now so that we can see it. What is this conflict about? What do we need to know about it? And once we understand the conflict, what can we do to heal it or let this go? Now, on the collective, right, we may see two people in a battle that is going to come to some big, climactic ending as a result of this eclipse energy. Then we have, I think the last piece here is Jupiter in Gemini. Now, in the week leading up to this full moon, we would have seen Venus in a positive conversation with Jupiter. So again, this is a woman, a feminine energy that may be blessed with information, a gifted communicator, and something about her work is teaching us how to heal. So there's something important. And then in our own lives, we could have expected some kind of a blessing based on the houses that are being impacted with Jupiter and Venus. So you have to, of course, look at your individual charts to understand that. So here in the third house for this chart example, and then in the seventh house. So there is something about this person and their relationship, maybe it's their marriage partner, that can heal, right? Third house is all about communication. Maybe there's somebody out there who's going to get engaged, right? Because of the fact that the seventh house is marriage. And this could be a public figure who gets engaged. Right? This is something that could have happened in the week leading up to this. So again, just examples, but since the energy is still in existence, Jupiter here in Gemini gives us the information, the teaching, the knowledge, the ability to speak, right? With value, with purpose, in relationship to other people, and speaking with Chiron in a positive way, right? While it opposes Venus. Like, this tells me there's this third figure, this wise person that is going to be the one that helps resolve the conflict, whatever this conflict is for you, and something, in the collective that we see coming up as well. All right. There's so much going on at this lunar eclipse. Make sure you're showing up. Make sure you're not trying to hang on to things that no longer serve you, and take a close look so that you understand instead of feeling a little crazy about what's going on, or you're feeling over emotional. If you understand sometimes what's going on and why, it can help you feel a little bit more at ease, because you're not crazy. Like, the work is showing up and you just have to show up with it and do it. All right. So based on that, of course, I can't get into all of the moving pieces based on your individual charts, but I can give you some idea of where you need closure in your life. And of course, this is only based on whole sign houses, so that's very generic reading as well. But it will, it will still help you and be of value. But when you know your chart for sure, then look at the houses I'm talking about and you can adjust it. And then, of course, look and do you have planets? I do personally have big planets being impacted by this eclipse. So I'm very curious to see for myself. And of course, I've done all the review and I've gone back to 2005 and I'm pretty sure I understand about what's been letting go. And for me, I'm like, God, I hope that means that 19-year chapter is over, because I'm ready for it to be over. But for you individually, right? If you don't know, book a session with me and we'll break it down together. All right. So Aries, you guys have already heard me talk about this. This is an eclipse that happens in your 12th house. So there is something coming to fullness that could have to do with your 12th house. Now, the other piece about the 12th house is also large institutions. It can be hospitals, it could be prisons. So if you've been somebody who's been feeling like they're trapped or stuck working for a large company, well, that could come to an end now. And then as a result, you would be able to go find a job where you don't feel trapped any longer. And the sun in your sixth house is going to show you the work that you want to do. So let's say you're a doctor, and then the sun in Virgo says, but do you think maybe you'd rather be a naturopath, right? Are you done dealing with pharmacies? That would be just one example, Aries. Okay. Taurus, this happens for you in your 11th house. So this is friends and network groups where something can come to an end. And then keep in mind, of course, you have Uranus almost getting done with all of this work to reinvent you, also still in your first house. Could potentially be the second, depends on what your chart looks like. But this again is a time for making sure you aren't sticking stubbornly, I tell you that lovingly, Taurus, to everything that you already know. And instead, now you're letting things go and change. And so it can be really easy and comfortable to keep sticking with the friends that you've always been friends with the groups that you've always been a part of, or say you do charity work. But if you're not being able to be yourself while a part of these groups, then it's going to be time for you to make a change. And that sun in your fifth house, it's going to show you where your heart really lies and what you want to be pursuing instead. And you might just have to end something in order to do that. And letting go of friends is hard. Letting go of the groups that you're a part of can be scary, but there just might be something that you need to end. Now, if you've been working on a group project, good news is with this eclipse energy, you'll have the help you need to finish it. All right, Geminis. This is in your 10th house of career. So there is something that's coming to fullness and completion. A chapter of your career is ending. And as it ends, then the new opportunity will present itself. And that new opportunity could end up being somewhere new to live, right? So you may be moving or relocating with the help of this eclipse energy. So it can be very beneficial, but the tension would be, but I have to move, right? That sun in your fourth house is going to give you all the structure and support you need to make this big move, and it will end up benefiting you, right? Because this is fated. All right. Next, we have Cancers. So Cancers, every moon event you feel, because of course you are ruled by the moon. And so this is an emotional time for you. And you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. I mean, that's a lot of energy going on with your planetary ruler. So this is a time again to set those intentions with what you want to release emotionally. And in your ninth house, right, this is the energy of a higher power, growth, expansion. There could be something that ends that has to do with a foreign person, a foreign place, foreign people. It could also be a time, though, where you're concluding your higher education. Maybe this is you concluding your goal to learn a foreign language or go back to school, to college. So there's something you are learning, and it could be something you're completing. And with the sun in your third house shining a light, it's like the sun in the third house is, in your community, right? And the people that are part of your community that will help you grow and expand. So there's something you have to see and balance between where you are today and where you want to go. And something about this eclipse is going to remove that block for you. Leo. This is happening in your eighth house. So this is a pretty important house. It is the house of death and rebirth and transformation. It's the value that we seek and get from other people. It can be actual financial value that comes to us from other people, like our partners It can come to us in the way of loans, tax refunds. It's money that we get, but it isn't directly created by us ourselves. So there's some kind of big change, big transformation that is happening for you at this time. And in that eighth house, right, there could be a reliance on other people's money, for instance. And that has to come to an end now because the North Node says, I've got to let go of my reliance and my dependence on other people for my finances. And I need to start pursuing it on my own. And so the eclipse would take away that opportunity, right, that you rely on so heavily so that you can replace it on your own and stand on your own 2 feet. Now, if this is about your relationship, because this is also about our intimate partnerships, and there are blocks to intimacy in that relationship, or you have blocks to intimacy, period, so you're not in one, then this eclipse energy can help you remove those blocks and open up a new door for you as a result. All right. Okay. Then Virgos. So, of course, the sun is in your sign and it is shining light on the moon across, which is in your 7th house of your marriage partner and your serious relationship partners, right? Can be super close friends as well. So, a goal that you have there, right? Maybe you've been anti-marriage and now you are ready to consider that again. Or maybe your marriage is going to come to an end because you're in one that is not healthy for you. Of course, this is very individual, so it depends on your personal circumstances. But the sun is shining a light, right, from your 1st house. And so it is lighting up a path forward for you. What do you want from your serious relationships? What's in the way of you having a serious relationship that's healthy, right? That has good boundaries. What are you doing to not allow there to be good, healthy boundaries? Where are you compromising? Where are you trauma bonding with somebody instead of being in a healthy relationship? Anytime we are so desperate for a relationship to work that we can't possibly live unless we're with this one person, we already know we're in a trauma bonded situation and it's not healthy. And you may see that really clearly and decide to take steps to end one and take steps to start one that is healthy, because now you've learned over the last 19 years what doesn't work in a relationship so that you can now invite in what does. And you have to do the work, right? This is you pulling on the string of your kite. Next, we have Libras. Now, Libra, you've been doing a lot of work because you have had the South Node going through your sign for over a year now. And South Node work is hard because we have to let go of that which no longer serves us, right? We can't continue to be people pleasers. We can't continue to be out of balance with our relationships, whether they're friendships or love relationships, right? We have to restore the balance. And again, you could have looked back to 2004, 2005 to see what kind of work you did then, what's showing up for you now. Do you have planets or personal points like your rising sign that are starting to be activated by this South Node? If you do, you'll feel this more intensely, especially during these next 2 eclipse events. So this is the warm-up event. This is you being shown what you need to let go of. And it's in your 6th house. So it's the work you do. It's your health. It's anything that's a part of your day-to-day life. You could be being of service, too much service to other people, for instance, that you don't take time out for yourself. So you're about to be shown something very important. And the changes that you make could very well restructure what you do on a day-to-day basis. And your life going forward after this year is going to look very, very different. But the goal for it should be that it's harmonious and you feel more in balance. All right. Next, we have Scorpios. So Scorpios, this is going to happen in your 5th house. The 5th house is romance, it's children, it's hobbies. It's anything, I always say, that just speaks to our heart, right? Just makes our heart happy. to share our heart with other people. And so as you have something eclipsed here, I like to think of it as eclipsing out those things that don't work. So if there's things that don't work in the relationship that you have with your children, you want to work on eclipsing those blocks out. Same thing about romance. Maybe romance is just a complete cluster for you. And then now you can get back on a good path. And again, you're a sign that requires a lot of intensity, a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and a lot of times it's romantic partners that help us make the biggest changes. So if you've been doing a lot of work, this eclipse may help you bring that work to a conclusion. Now, the sun is shining a light on the work that you need to do, which is in your friends sector. So there can be a friend that's maybe pushing you a bit, that's highlighting the things that you need to change and let go of. And you may not like what you hear, but you need to hear it because it's time to stop brooding over whatever this topic is, and it's time to move on. Okay, then we have Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, this is happening in your fourth house of home and family. So this is a time where you could be moving. You could be making significant changes in your home. You might have to do some major home renovation, right? There might be water issues that you need to deal with at home because of this eclipse. And sometimes, right, an eclipse in the fourth house at home is going to bring things to the surface so that you can fix them and you weren't aware of them before. Now, this could have to do with a relationship with your mother. It could be ancestral things that you've been stuck in patterns that just don't serve you anymore, and you want to end those and have a fresh, clean break. But at the root of the problem, whatever the problem is in this area, it's going to get eclipsed out. And that sun is also shining a light from your 10th house. So this, again, can be energy that is showing you something that you need to consider as far as your work ethic goes. And is it causing too much of a drain on your family, for instance? And so do you need to make some changes there? Okay. Next, we have Capricorn. So Capricorn, this happens for you in your third house. So this is the community that you're a part of. It's your communication skills, which can be a little cold and dry with that Capricorn energy. And you always talk like somebody who's very serious. And you may need to reconsider that. You may need to think about the sun in your 9th house, which is showing you something bigger, something more. And it might be showing you that you've been playing small for too long to play it safe, because of course Saturn, your ruler, wants you to keep it safe in your community. And the sun is showing you there's bigger potential. But that would mean that something has to end in the community that you're currently a part of. Third house also has to do with siblings and cousins. There could be something that you need to end related to one of those relationships as well. And when you do, then you have this huge, growth opportunity that presents itself to you. Next, we have Aquarius, and this happens in the 2nd house of the money that you make. And so again, am I concluding a job? Am I getting the job that I've been waiting for? Something comes to fullness that is realized that impacts the money that you make. Something you can do with the eclipse is remove blocks to feeling worthy, right? To get what you deserve because of an eclipse in your 2nd house, which has everything to do with your self-worth. So I always coach my clients, if you aren't making the money that you want to make, there's some stuck belief system that is keeping you in that pattern that you have to dissolve. And so that's the great thing about Neptune right now, working with this moon and the eclipses. I can dissolve this way of thinking or being in order to attract in what it is that I want and what I am worthy of, deserving. And then that sun shining a light from the 8th house of other people's money right? Is it you're seeing, is it what I make, what I want to be valued for, or am I doing what other people want me to do? There's something that you're going to decide, and it could change your current career path as a result. And last but never least, Pisces, this of course is eclipse in your first house. This is how other people see you. And if it's on your sun, it will be a dramatic change that you are about to go through. Anything that's blocking you from being who you are, your gifted, talented, intuitive, emotional self, right? Your ability to heal other people. And maybe you've been a healer of other people for a long time, and now it's time to take a break at doing that and instead focus on healing yourself. So this could be something that your partner is helping you see, because the sun will be in your 7th house, which is our serious relationships, business partners, marriage partners. And so something that they shine a light on for you helps you realize where you're not being true to yourself. And you can use the eclipse to get whatever that thing is, even if it's just in your head, out so that you can be who you are meant to be. All right. Now, keep in mind, for everybody, this eclipse is just a preview of the work that we all have to start to do in 2025. So something will be shown to us during this eclipse period that is opening a door to the work that we'll have when the nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo. And so again, those of us who have planets at these late degrees of Pisces, we have some pretty intense work coming up in 2025, and we're going to get a preview of what that work is. We all do, because big things are changing for us in 2025. We will see Saturn go into the sign of Aries. We will see Neptune go into the sign of Aries, which we have never seen in our lifetime. And Pluto will go back into the sign of Aquarius. And we got a brief look at what that meant as it spent time in there since the end of January. So there is societal changes that are coming, and they're going to come up in a big way. And Aries is a very strong, independent, war-like energy. So no more just doing what it takes to fit in, right? This is about standing up for ourselves. And Neptune, again, it is energy that is healing. It is loving. It is kind. And it's going to show us, right, the people who are using their power in a way that is not conducive, and it's not healthy, and it's not supportive. And we have a long time, like 14 years, to start to do the work, just like we've had to do the work in the sign of Pisces. But as Neptune and Saturn are going to join together, as the nodes are going to shift around the first of the year, things are really going to start to change. So please come back. We're going to be talking about this a lot as we go forward, as we move through this political season, which is going to continue to be full of fireworks. So much is changing, especially around the inauguration in January. So you'll want to stay tuned in. All right, guys, thank you. Like I said, I will post a second video where I break down the rest of the days and talk just briefly about what's happening with the eclipse. But we still have lots of other energy and very, very interesting things, such as Jupiter and Venus and their blessings. Very, very, very interesting things to take a full look at. So I look forward to seeing you on that Astro lesson as well. Thank you again for your time. Thanks for sharing, liking, commenting. Ask me questions. I love answering you guys' questions when you put them in the comments section. So thanks to those that do that. All right, guys. keep me posted on how this is going, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the new moon solar eclipse, which will be probably even more shocking. All right, take care, everybody, and we will talk next week. Be sure and check out your weekly tarot card messages as well. Those, along with this astro lesson, are going to give you the big picture. Thanks again for tuning in. Talk to you next week.